Tēnā koutou e te iwi, koutou e wakaronga mai ana ki rungi I tēnei o ngā hōtaka Koniahi Kōrero. O tira ki koutou rā kua hono mai I te iHeartRadio, I te whare kōrero rānei, he mihi mata kuikui, tēnei ki koutou hoki. O tira ki koutou e mātakitaki mai ana I tēnei pāpā o mataora. Koe nei ngā mihi hoki ki koutou katoa. Tainoa ki koe e taku kahi, e patutoro, e mihi ana ki koe hoki I tēnei wā. Me ngā mihi hoki ki tō whānau, e noho ana ki taua takiwa o te motu nei. Ana ka waiho ki a koe, ki te whakamohio atu ki te marea, ko wai tō ingoa, ko wai koe no hea, no wai aua ahuatanga katoa, kia kaua e pau te wā I a te aorangi, e kōrero ana mōu, nā reira e patu kei a koe te wā.
Ngā mihi ki a koe e te tuahine. Ai noku te wai Marie, I te taho o tōku pāpā, he uri a hau no Taranaki Maunga, I te taho o tōku māma, he uri a hau no Ngāti Whakauwe, Ngai Tuhoe, Ngāti Te Atanga Mahaki hoki. Nā reira ai. Ko Te Umu Patutoro Maruera tōku ingoa, and I'm one of the many kaimahi that work for Te Pou Oranga o Te Whakatōhea under the Te Whakatōhea Trust. Thank you for having me.
Te Pou Oranga.
Ai, Te Pou Oranga.
The pleasure is mine, Kahi. The pleasure is mine. Your name, straight away, always, whenever you and I talk, I always think about your name and I think, what a cool name, man. And I suppose now is the time because we've already had a chat about the reason why we're doing Koniahi Kōrero, and it is to capture voice archive for our mokopuna, or our mokopuna's mokopuna in the future. And maybe, just maybe, this is a good time to talk about your name, really. And so how did you get your name?
So what I understand, my full name is Te Umu Patutoro Maruera, and Te Umu is after my kuia, so her name's Te Umu Mary Williams on my mum's side, and then Patutoro is my grandfather's kuia, and that too is on my mum's side. And then, Mary, last name Maruera. Yep.
Wouldn't have a clue where that Maruera name comes from. Never heard of yours before.
Not at all. Yeah.
There could be a Ngāti Ruanui connection in there somewhere, I feel.
Absolutely. So my dad is Haimona Simon Maruera, born and raised. I won't say just in South Taranaki because his heart is for his whole maunga, for all of the iwi, all of the hapu and all of his whakapapa. So I might get a growling if he hears this and I just say just one or two. So yeah, he proudly affiliates to his maunga, aye. But definitely in the south.
Cool. And that's the tōna. That's the tōna, really. Right there is our Uncle Maimo. Seriously, if you need to know anything, he's the guy. He's the guy to go to. He literally knows how everyone ties in to everywhere, pretty much. Well, thank you, Patu. Thank you again for joining me tonight. What I'm wanting to do at this point in time also, aside from the voice archive, is to talk to our ahirere, our whanaunga who are living away from the maunga at this point in time. Although pretty hard to call you ahirere because you're home quite often, keeping the home fires burning. So yeah, you're one of them, you know, those ahika that ka rere atu, hoki, ana ka hoki mai. So I wanted to talk to those of our uri who are away from home, well, away from this side of them anyway, and they are working on the front line. And so you and I, we've had a lot of many many conversations in the past about your role last year during lockdown. And then I thought it would be really neat to talk to you about what it's like for you guys this time round also. So how's it looking for you guys over there at the moment?
Things seem, what I will say is I feel like we're in a place where we're more responsive, as opposed to, because last year COVID was the first time, not just us, but it seemed like we were all quite reactive to wanting to keep everyone safe and protected. So this time we managed to iron out a few things around our response internally and externally. And so although it's an uncertain time for all of us, we don't have the anxiety, or we don't have maybe the stress that we had the first time around. So that's pretty good. It means that our team, our kaimahi on the ground, so here for Te Whakatōhea, they're essential team. That's what the frontline team is. Things are going okay. Touch wood. I just want to share, so how we came up with Essential, actually not me, but how Essential team came up was because we had we were going to be called the Skeleton Crew last year during COVID, and a couple of our millennials, they were like, oh, considering what the that it's COVID-19, do you think that's appropriate? So we were tasked with finding us another name. And hence it's Essential. So for us here, we're known as the Essential team. Yeah, that's how we got
nice. And interesting, it was the millennials who brought it up.
Oh, absolutely. And they were actually they were really passionate about it too, about us hearing their kōrero, which we did, and then for them a more appropriate name for our team was given, and that's how we got Essential. So that's just what we've carried on with this COVID as well. Yep.
I mean, our millennials, they get a hard time often for being so woke, but often I think they're actually just a bit more worldly than the rest of us. So they have the access online to understand and know what's going on around them. And so where we may have let the Skeleton Crew fly, hey, let's be honest, they're obviously no.
They just weren't having it.
About the kapoo.
They just weren't having it at all, which was good for us.
And here we are with the Essential.
Here we are.
The Essential team.
Yes.
Nice. So being a part of the Essential team, what does it entail in a little bit more depth?
Okay. So last year we had an Essential team of 10 that was on the ground. This year we have the same again. 4 of our kaimahi are returning as Essential team from last year. The rest are all quite new. They do 10, on average they'll do a minimum of 8 to 12 hour days, depending on the needs of the community at the time. So last week, the 3 days were actually, the first 2 days was just about us assisting our working from home teams to have the workstations that they needed. And because only the Essential team could move around, so we've been given letters from our trust board that we can show the police or other services that we're the Essential team and we have essential vehicles and resources. So the first 2 days was pai. It was just resourcing our working from home team. And then Friday was just waiting to hear about what the update was going to be, and then logistically planning for this week. Our primary focus as Essential team is crisis, high risk, or those that are vulnerable. And that can come from anywhere. It can be internally, it can be externally, and it can be walk-ins. So that's actually what our Essential team manages, as well as we help to maintain wellness through comms with our working from homes team, who will ask us if they can't get a hold of any whānau. They ask our team on the ground to do cold calls, or just to make sure that every avenue is explored to try and get a hold of that person, and then we feedback accordingly. So yeah, there's multi-layers and dimensions in what essential team mahi looks like, and it's never the same day. So we plan, but really it just depends what comes in over the phone, what comes in over the email, and then what walks through our door.
So in regards to alert level 4,
Yep.
And there being many tikanga that have been put in place in order to keep everybody safe, and you're talking about being the essential team, who are essentially the front line, who are going to go out there and find whānau and make sure whānau are okay. And thinking right now that, okay, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic e te whānau. So what does that look like for you? I mean, I understand that you can plan so much, but I would imagine, I'm so sure you guys would have some stringent tikanga in place, but what's that like for you when you know, okay, we need to find a whānau, and we're doing it under alert level 4?
So an example is that our service, there's approximately, I stand to be corrected, but there's about 45 kaimahi under our service. And so with our team of 9 to 10 on the ground, there are just about daily requests around us just getting eyes on whānau. So we cater for whānau who are hapu mama through to our more elderly. And so our services and our response can vary. For example, we have a mental health and addictions team, and so they look after their whānau, and sometimes the whānau are just needing support around receiving their injections, and so we support whakatane, community mental health, with connecting. So those things can be done. Supporting with medication as well from our local pharmacies, and some of our whānau, they may not be able to leave their homes or have the resources to come and pick up their medication. So there'll be a coordinated response between the working from home person, us on the ground, and our whānau receiving whatever it is they need. It could be our young. So we've recently had a mama that's had a baby, and so it's just us checking in to make sure. So she had the baby since lockdown, so it's us making sure that she's okay in the hospital, that she feels supported, because no one's allowed in the hospital with her. So you have a mum who has a baby and she's feeling lonely, and so our team can just check in, as well as the working from home team, just to make sure that she feels supported, and what her being discharged might look like. Does she require support? Does she require pickup? Does she need us to maybe go get her and take her home safely? We have a social workers and schools team. So our Swissy team, they cover 7 to 8 kura, and they're looking at just some learning packs for the tamariki that they look after, so that they can help the tamariki to be settled, and looking at some other avenues also around maybe having a place where they can just touch base with the tamariki once a week and just see how they are. So yeah, we have a lot of things that require a lot of different types of expertise, different knowledge base, different skill base, a lot of local knowledge. So it's good that we have most of our kaimahi no konei, they're from here. So we can, it helps us to track whānau, to find whānau because sometimes external services, their database is understandable. They may not have the correct addresses or phone numbers, so we use local knowledge. The central team will do their best to, connect our whānau with the services that they need to catch up with them, because it seems that there are still some appointments that certain hospitals are still keeping. And so that's just a brief snapshot as to maybe a day in how we service our community here in Te Whakatōhea.
Yeah, but it's so interesting because at the moment what you're seeing on social media and even on just the general media really is the feel-good stories about lockdown, like people showing us their baking and they're off exercising, and that's all great. We need that. People need to be doing that. But people don't really understand the cogs that are turning behind the scenes for those of our whānau who aren't in that situation where they can just concentrate on baking and getting out for a run in order to manage their well-being. What you're talking about there is a real life situation where we've got a mum who's just had a baby and she's in hospital by herself, and then we've got, obviously there's talk there of appointments that are being kept. So there are some things that are still going on in the hospital, and where they may have had a support person with them, that's not going to happen this time. And to know that you guys are even thinking about discharge, because often people go to the doctor or to the hospital, they have their procedure and then that's it, off they go home, probably never get followed up again. So it's good for everyone out there to hear this sort of kōrero so they understand. And even though it's a snapshot, a real small part of a huge day, it's good for people to hear how the real world is out there at this time.
One of the kōrero that we've been having over the last couple of days is around identifying whānau and what the criteria may be around needs, like a needs assessment. And what we learned from last COVID was that it wasn't actually until the end of COVID that we had whānau where there had been a huge reduction in their financial situation, where two kaimahi, there'd be two salaries coming into the whare, and for some reason, because of COVID, it had reduced to maybe just one salary that was carrying this whānau through the 4 to 6 weeks, and in some cases no salary. So you went straight from not a salary, income. You went from a two-person income to, in some cases, no income. And we've been talking about how we make sure that that is a gap that we make sure that we plug, and that we definitely not target, but we just let whānau know, because they're the whānau who actually don't use our services as much as others. They normally have two incomes. They're normally plodding along. Life is okay. Life is pie. And then this happens, which is totally outside their means and their control, and they don't know. They just don't know who to reach out to and what that might look like. And so we're just wanting our community to just say, who those people are. Please don't let them be whakamā. Support them, that it's not about being whakamā. You not having a job or not having that income, that's not your fault. It's COVID. So it's not that we can solve your financial problems, but we may have resources that you can access and you are eligible for, so that you and your whānau don't have to struggle,
Yeah, te tāhua hoki o taua whakaaro. And you're right, because often it's our whānau who are working, they get missed out, because the assumption is that everything's all good there. But what we're actually seeing is many more of our whānau who are coming through with 2 incomes and still struggling to meet needs and to provide because of, you would have seen it, rent increases, food and the price of food increasing. So,
with
we were going...
With tamariki being home, that's something that is with tamariki being home during COVID, or people being home, even whānau being home more, the kai budget, the kāpata kai seems to be, doesn't last as long. And so that becomes an extra stress that whānau are having to manage, having more people home. So like you said, we have the beautiful part of being on lockdown together, more quality whānau time. So we see more power being used. This is just what we see in terms of whānau challenges or concerns, is more power is being used because more people could be on the internet, their Wi-Fi, charging up their electronics. The ovens being used more, the TVs are on more. So therefore power increases. Kai, because you have your tamariki or your whānau home, so there, and at kura they'd have school lunches. What's that? So at kura they have primary, they have the school lunch thing. So that takes off the
school lunches.
The breakfast and the lunch is done at kura, but here at home, so kai is one. We have, so last year, COVID, because it was kind of going into winter, the fires were being, the heating, the fires and the heating are being used more often to keep whānau warm. So hence that either your power bill goes up or you're ordering more firewood. So the cost of people just being able to live at home and actually be on lockdown, financially, so because it becomes a financial stress, it affects their emotional and their mental well-being, and therefore it affects their spiritual well-being. And so there are the rainbows and unicorns of lockdown, but then there's also the challenges that whānau have around, especially financially. And when you go from 2 income, even down to 1 income, but definitely when you go down to zero income. And we've been listening and we haven't heard the government talk about the subsidy, how they spoke about it last time, where contractors or self-employed or just they were offering businesses a subsidy around giving their kaimahi pūtea, their workers pūtea. Maybe I've missed it, but we haven't heard that either yet. So there's all these challenges that our whānau actually have when we have a lockdown.
I spoke with a friend yesterday and she was saying that she was able to access the subsidy, but more so for her staff than herself.
Awesome.
To pay their wages. However, the profit margin that she would have been bringing in is what pays her. And there is no profit when you can't sell to anybody. I think it's a good time for everyone to understand that it doesn't look the same for everybody. And it's one thing to read about it in the paper and then just put the paper down and be like, oh, okay, well, ka aroha, that poor whānau, But really, when you're out there every day. So we've spoken about a myriad of needs that are happening, but what's our main, what's the core needs that you look at a time like this that you can assist to resource quite quickly? Like for us, we'd look at kai. We'd probably look at kai in the first instance. What would be on the top of your guys' list?
Well, just for me off the top of my head, we'd look at, yes, definitely kai. PPE gear, masks, sanitizer, gloves, gearing up. And those are the two main things that we're looking at, because we're still early in lockdown. And so for those that if we can help offer some type of relief through providing kai or vouchers where they can purchase PPE gear and kai, then hopefully what little money they have, they can put towards their rental, their power, their other needs. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else.
And if we were going to take it, right. And if we were going to take it a bit deeper, we know that the kai and the PPE gear is going to assist the household to, it resources them just slightly more, and then that has an offset effect on the behaviour within the whare as well. Towards each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation also to be had. I don't know if it's to be had right now, but the realities of what being unresourced looks like for families in times like this. Last lockdown, the initial feedback or kōrero was that a lot of the families, they really enjoyed actually being by themselves with each other and not having, external or being open to external access to just anybody coming around whenever. But it wasn't long before we got back into life and it all just, turned around and came running back again. So what does the long-term plan look like? That might be a bit of an ambitious statement or question, but because you did just say that it's quite hard to plan for at the moment, you're only in level 4 until Friday. You don't know what's going to happen on Friday. So was there some long-term planning done at your guys' end with the thought that this could happen again? How are you going to react? You've already said it's calmer. And I have to say, there is a calmness about you, Te Umu Patutoro. I have to say, there is always a calmness about you. So I'm not surprised at all that your approach this time round is considered and calm. But has that come over time of noticing what's happening around the world, or is that just the way you do?
Oh, I wish it was the way I do. Like I was messaging you 10, 15 minutes before this. Oh my gosh, what's it going to look like? Had come from a tutorial, which you and I were both part of. But in terms of our approach, and I think just being more mindful, is that there's a, I don't know if the word's quiet confidence, but there's a quiet confidence in that we got through the last 4 to 6 weeks or what that COVID looked like last year. We put systems and processes in place that served us in doing the mahi last COVID. So our team we're not starting from nowhere, I suppose maybe is our quiet relief that we haven't just started from nowhere. We can pull up templates around, so for example, delivery of hygiene packs, what things are looking like. We can use data and information that we captured last year to help forecast needs or resources that we'll be needing to look at ordering just around certain services needs or even age needs. Or so I suppose that's our relief actually, is that we're not starting from nowhere. It's more a response as opposed to a reaction. One of the things that I will share that we've just been really enjoying is, so we have karakia, te Whakatōhea, 8:30 every morning, and it had just kind of started off as our service, Te Pou Oranga o Whakatōhea, and then our management, and then our governance. So yeah, it's really nice that every morning we have karakia, and it's karakia where so te Whakatōhea, the whakapono here is te hahi ringatu, and so that's carried through. That's always present. It's always how they start, how we start, and it's really nice just to see. So although we're essentially on the ground, it's really nice to see everyone at all levels, and us just being together. Beautiful way to start the day. So yeah, since last week we've been. So I find that it helps me. So that helps me, and all karakia, all whakapono, all karakia is encouraged during this time, and so that's what COVID or the circumstance or the experience allows is for us to embrace. Actually, is to just embrace and be in the moment and appreciate what that is. And so I believe that's helped with the quiet support, the quiet relief, and the quiet confidence of we can get through this too, whatever it is. We can look after the te Whakatōhea and the other iwi that are on either side of us as well. Yeah, we're happy to support.
Ana koera tētahi o ngā mea nui ki ngai Māori, ne? I spoke with Puawai Hudson about this,
yes,
you know, one of
yes.
our rangatai.
Right.
I wanted to get her thoughts on, yes, you do know her very well. Actually, she talks about your father all the time.
I'm trying to get a hold of her too, just saying Puawai.
Oh yeah, well, I'll let her know. We talked about it, about wakapono, and how important it is for our people to have wakapono. And I don't know if the getting it confused or maybe not confused, not understanding another person's religion is what stops people altogether. Like, oh no, I can't, you know, like the human form is what it is. However, we know that for ngai Māori, ko te whakapono, me whakapono koe, tuatai ki a koe anō. Ana mā tērā ka taia hoki koe te whakapono ki aia. Ko wai aia? Oh, kei te kimi tonu au i tērā whakautu, engari kei te mohi au, kei reira tētahi atu e te aki mai a hau. That's the biggest thing for me in regards to wakapono. And I think that if we can encourage that line of thought within our people again, during these sorts of times, and that's why you see everybody jumps on karakia. You know, that's why all of these big groups, for instance, Māori Party, they've started up their karakia again. That's one group of people. Our kura, we're having daily karakia. Te kura kaupapa Māori o Ngāti Roanui, they have their karakia in the morning and at night. It's about whanaungatanga also, you know, getting together, being there, you know each other, you've all got each other's backs. And also up in New Plymouth, Ngā Motu, Te Pihipihinga, they're having their karakia every day as well. I mean, it's not unique. This is what we do. But it's the doing it all the time is what the encouragement is, right? Not kaue waiho mo te reanga whā.
Yes.
Don't just hold up and wait for COVID, COVID-19 to strike and put us in a lockdown, e te whānau. You can whakapono all the time. And I know your influence also in your own wakapono has definitely had an effect on me and how I think in that way. So I really, it's good when you talk to someone who says things like what you're saying and you know it's real. It's the real deal, Holyfield, you know? And you're not like, oh, she says she whakaponos. Oh, wow, I don't know, you know. I don't know. You should probably think that about anyone anyway. Anywho, I'm going off on a tangent right now. Everybody just whakapono. So that's Te Pou Oranga or Whakatōhea. How if whānau are over there, if we have taranaki uri who are living over there at the moment and they're looking for connection, engagement of some sort, they need a little bit of tautoko, can they contact you?
Yes, they
your
can.
organisation?
We have a 0800 support line. 0800 support line. 0800 315 600. 0800 315 600, and that's they'll put you through to the Te Pou Oranga or Whakatōhea reception, and you just let them know what it is you need, and then from there we'll hear your kōrero, and then we'll triage and then allocate someone to follow up with you around what that support can look like.
Nice. So this is a good little segue into the next lot of kōrero, mai kahi. Because you just touched on it briefly before that we were in a tutorial.
Yes, we were.
So for those of you who don't know Patu is the ultimate student. Like, I think you could go to her and you could say to her, have you got this qualification? And she probably could say, which is why she's trying to cut me, whatever, which is why I'm doing this study that Tamsin and I talk about on the radio. So Tamsin, she's doing her Masters of Māori and Indigenous Leadership. And here you and I are doing our postgrad diploma in kaitiakitanga by cultural supervision. So we have had some experience in the sector, both registered social workers also, and been working with whānau for a long time. So what was the inspiration this year that made you think, right, because honest, you've got like all the quals. So what was it this year that made you think, don't laugh, that made you think, okay, well, I'm going to do kaitiakitanga and Te Aurangi's coming with me?
Yeah. So there were a few factors, and one was you. So one was you, Ekwe, that I knew that you had started, and we had already, remember, we had said, if we go back, we'll do this together. So that was definitely one. That was a huge part of us, me deciding whether or not to pursue this year. The second part is my DAPAN supervisor. She had asked me what my pathway looked like, and I honestly said to her, I have no idea. I only signed up to become DAPAN's registered because I really enjoyed a training. So not only was she my supervisor, she was my tutor for Te Taketake, which is a 2-year diploma in mental health and addictions. And so she said, Patu, where to next for you? And I'm like, I have no idea. So she recommended, she's an ex-graduate of kaitiakitanga, and so she recommended that I look at this too, also in terms of my role here for Te Whakatōhea. She's like, it just coincides with your pathway, even though you don't see it. I recommend you do it because it's there. And then I thought of you, so her encouragement, and that's what planted the seed. And then I was like, yes, now I need some friends. Now I need some whānau. And then I was like, that's what Te Aurangi had said, and I'm going to hold her to it. So that's what I was like, Te Aurangi, you need to apply. I'll apply if you apply. And then we roped in more of our whānau from Taranaki. And we very much make it once a month a maunga affair in Waikato. Yeah,
I think we need to just lay something straight. She didn't say, Te Aurangi, we're doing this. It was more like, oh, I've already told her you're enrolling. You need to email her. She's waiting to hear from you.
Yes, yes.
And it was like, well, okay, I can't really say no, but it's worth it, right? Because in the sector, we do need more Māori supervisors out there for our kaimai. Now, just I don't think we talked about this in great length. Because it is level 4 at the moment, and you are frontline workers, and we know as Māori, we are the most vulnerable. in regards to the health statistics, where we sit and getting actually serviced properly within the health system. And right now even waiting for resource and information, which puts us on the back foot when we've already proven that we are very fast to respond and we can look after our people.
Absolutely.
Just give the listeners or the watchers a quick rundown on what it looks. Are you going out? Because when I talked to Eddie and Jackie on Monday, they're going out in like full PPE gear, you know, because they are doing the testing, the swabbing. So full PPE geared up. It's real, right? Just so everyone understands. Yeah. This is real.
It definitely is. Just on that note, before I forget, so Te Whakatōhea, I think were maybe the second, I want to say first in New Zealand to actually get their testing station up, because they started on Friday. But I keep hearing first in the Bay of Plenty, second in New Zealand. But I stand to be corrected. I was in a hui today where that kind of come up. So I was really proud to just hear that, because I hadn't realised. So maybe the first in the Bay of Plenty. And
yeah, because I think I got my test on Thursday down at Patukukupa Street in Manaia.
Okay, so
by Ngaruhine.
First in the Bay of Plenty. So for us, we're very much saying it's real. So we started on Friday, and then we had another one today. There were at least 100 that went through on Friday, and from what there were at least 100, and then there was another team that went through today. So that was for the vaccinations. That was for the vaccinations and testing. Definitely. So our essential team, when they go out into the community, if there's a possibility of there being contact with someone else, then we definitely have the mask. We have mask. I even tried to bring stuff. Mask, gown. We have a gown.
Nice.
And then the gloves are over there. And so I'm still trying to learn myself about the Delta strand. And one of my kaimahis, her auntie's a nurse, so every morning she kind of like takes this opportunity to make sure that I learn something, which is great, which I absolutely appreciate. And so she talks about how the difference between this strand and the last strand is that this strand is airborne and et cetera. So it very much is real whānau. We're blessed that it hasn't come here to the Bay of Plenty that I know of. But yeah, we're very, very thankful, and fingers crossed it doesn't find its way here.
Yeah, totally. So I bought some little things too. So as I
surprise me, please.
Patu and I, we are on a learning journey at the moment. Now, when I say she's the ultimate student, I'm not saying by any means we are the best students. Our poor tutors, our poor lecturer, actually, when you think about it, hey, we're getting there. I wondered if it was worth us just, recapping.
Yes.
Could help with that reflection that you have to write tonight. So these are also a good little snapshots or cards for everyone at home who's listening, or everyone who is watching right now. These are these cards that our awesome lecturer makes up for us. I mean, really, we've got no reason to fail. Like, let's be real. She pretty much has made it pretty easy for us. But
she's amazing.
Anyway,
she's amazing.
She is definitely amazing. So there you go, Patu. This could be something.
Humble in
this StreamYard, eh?
So kia ngākau mahaki, be humble in your approach. Kia ngākau mahaki.
Yes.
Do you want me to give an example?
Yes, please.
Kia ngā kaumahake. Be humble. Sorry, I just have to write this down. Be humble in your approach. Sorry, yeah, visual learner.
And
visual learner. And then that one
which means to share your knowledge.
Yep.
To share your knowledge, using it to benefit others. That's the other side to that.
To share your knowledge. Okay. Using it to benefit others. Oh, awesome. So how I can maybe give an example of this for our
Can I have an example, Patu, of how you have...
Have you frozen, Miss Te Orangi? No, there you are.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, you're back. Go. No.
Yeah. What's your example?
Okay. So to share your knowledge, using it to benefit others. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yes.
So I'm blessed that both essential teams, last year and this year, both of these teams, we had a team of 40 to 45 reduced down to nine kaimahi on the ground. And what I was very grateful for and appreciative of is that between the 9, they could service, there was a multitude of different skills. They were resourceful, they were knowledgeable, and as a team, we could address any needs. And why I just want to acknowledge that is because they don't even see it. They just turn up every day and they just think, okay, what are we doing today? And I suppose they think that, it's just like, just another day where we need to go track down a whānau that's transient between this region to that region, and then they go and work their networks, work their connections, make the phone calls on texting, and then they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, yep, found this person, we're going to get them. And you've had the police looking for them, CMH, you've had agencies looking for them, and just with them, they're just like, oh, okay. Yep, no, we'll just go get the car. We're just going to go get them. I'm like, man, these are amazing. Or even totally. And they're just like, one last year was we had, one of our goals was to ensure that those that were the highest at risk, like our kuia karawa, those whānau who are unwell, our tamariki, was to ensure that their bubbles weren't compromised. And so last year and this year we have, there was 2 of our young kaimahi. When I say young, they'd actually just started with the service maybe 4 to 6 weeks out. These 2 young men, no kone, no te Whakatōhea, and they were delivering hygiene packs. And they ended up, and I'm talking like an hour, 2 hours into the bush is where they're going with their van load of hygiene packs, and they've got their list, and they're going bush literally. And lucky they know, like, they're from here, so they know the roads, they know the whānau. And they come across, there'd be a kuia and a karawa who the parents before lockdown had brought tamariki back from Auckland so that they'd be safe, and they'd leave them there with the nan and koro, and they'd go back to Auckland because they could work. So the parents or the whānau were essential workers back up in Auckland, but they couldn't look after the kids because the kids were at home. So they were brought back here to nan and koro. But nan and koro were being told that you can't leave because, you're at risk. And so our tāne, as they were out delivering the hygiene packs, they'd come back and they'd be like, hey, there's this nan and koro like 2 hours into the bush, and they've got these mokopuna and they can't leave. And for the kuia and the karawa, they had enough. But for our boys, they were like, we need to take them some more kai just to help make it easier. And so they think that everyone does that. And I'm like, wow, you win. And then they come back, go get kai, and then they drive it back up again. Oh, and I've got one other cool one to share. So the same group, and I hope they don't hear it, because then they'll be like, oh, the others will be like, why is she only still sharing stories about them? But what happened was the whānau water collective for the hygiene packs. So we all had to go to this place by Maki too. There's a green BP there to pick up 100 boxes that were being given to each service here. Yep, given to each service for us to bring back and give out to our whānau. So we go on vans, and one van, I think, in a truck, and our two young men, they're part of that group going to get the hygiene boxes. And there's a couple of other agencies here from Te Ōpōtiki. They're all going to get their hygiene boxes, Te Whānau Apanui, Te Whakatōhea, and I think Tuhoe. Anyway, it was come to get your hygiene boxes from this petrol station or this area. So they all rock up. And none of them had enough vehicle transport for all the boxes. And so for the boxes. And so one of them, and actually him and I were only talking about this on Friday. He's like, do you remember? And so he rings me and he's like, Pat, we can't fit any more in the van. We can't fit any more on the truck. Like these, how are we going to get these things back? And we're not the only ones. There's that service. And then I hear them talking, and then they're like, oh, I think it was this, the Wilson brothers, or anyway, this trucking company. And then they hang up on me. And I'm like, what are these two up to? So, what's going on over here? This stuff elevates me, because I'm like, what's I'm missing? And then they ring back, and all I can hear is, oh, there's the Wilson blah blah truck. And then they ring back and they go, nah, Pat, it's all good. We got it sorted. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. Nah, a truck that had pulled in and had actually just been to the port in Tauranga was on its way back to Ōpōtiki empty. And I go, oh, do you know and I'm like, oh, do you know the driver? And they're like, no, we just know that that's an Ōpōtiki company. No. So they got out and they walk over and they're like, bro, are you going back to Ōpōtiki? And I'm like, what? Are you going back to Ōpōtiki? And then they're going, yeah, I think that's so-and-so. So they're, trying to put the whakapapa, the whānau, into place. And he goes, yeah, I am. And they're like, oh, can we put all our boxes on your truck? And he's like, yeah, because he was going back anyway. And love it. And so there was other iwi who I won't name, but just know that everyone who went there, no one had enough room to take all their boxes, and all of them got loaded onto this truck, and this truck delivered to Whakatāne, and I won't name the agency because so there's an agency in Whakatāne that he dropped off to, and then he come back to his base, which was here at Waiōtahi, and then our teams, they came back, dropped off their stuff, and then they all shot out to Waiōtahi. And when they were telling me, I was just freaking out, because I'm like, did you know the driver? And they're like, nah, we just know that it's a Ōpōtiki truck. And, and I'm like, oh my gosh, your fellas, right? The nongatanga, just, and their humility, they don't even know. That's why they're just like, nah, here was the problem, here's the solution, and then we're just gonna, it's done, And so when I think of all of the stories, not just that one or the ones that we have, because we've had many, even with the team here so far this year, last year, but also there'd be essential teams or frontline teams that have kōrero, pūrākau, or just beautiful stories to share. And you can hear the intention, you can straight away hear the gem or the learning or the beauty in that story, because the intention, and it's like, problem, solution, and all the boxes got to, all those hygiene packs got to where they needed to, and then that person actually became the contractor to move the boxes from Tauranga back here for all those services. So like it worked out. It was like, hey, oh wow, just Let's share more of those stories. Those are cool around how, even as services, we have challenges. Even as essential team, we have challenges. We didn't have enough transport to go pick up all our resources. And the boys just looked, saw Ōpōtiki, and they were confident enough to just go and approach the driver. And he was like, yeah, not a problem, drop. And I'm talking hundreds, because there was more than one agency and each of them had 100 boxes allocated. So, yeah, we were very thankful. Very thankful.
Well, and that is the good side of this sort of these kaupapa Māori organisations who can come together like that. And, you know, and the Kazis who have got no shame to just ask.
Totally. I was like,
well, it's almost like putting a sense of responsibility on the person who they're asking, right? Like, you're from Ōpōtiki, aren't you? Yeah. Well, what do you mean you wouldn't do it? Of course you're going to do it.
Totally. And they said, and he was on board, and then even when they unloaded, he pulls out the forklift and unpacks, and it's just like, hey, but I was blown away because I said, did you know him? And they're like, no. All they knew was that trucking company came from Ōpōtiki. And there's no way, like I said to them, if I had gone, we'd still be there doing runs back and forth to get the hundreds, to get the boxes. Because there's no way I would have, one, I didn't know it was an Ōpōtiki trucking company. Two, there's no way I'd be like, oh, shit. Like, me and you would still be doing runs on the van. But no, not these guys. Just sit out and hey, talk.
I love it.
And because they were in uniform, he knew who they were too. They said, no, he knew who we were. Because hey, te Whakatōhea, and they're like, oh. And so that's what we acknowledged, was everyone was in the spirit very much so of just making things easier, not just for one, but for the many. And we don't have enough of those.
Yeah,
we
don't
have
enough of
those.
Happen.
Let's just get it done. The people need these.
True.
Let's just get it done.
Yeah,
so right. I hope that answers your question.
I mean, it does. And I'll just, so Patu said earlier in the interview that she was, you know, she was saying to me before this interview, oh gosh, can it only be for 10 minutes? Well, Kari, we've hit it out of the park, as we often do. She and I can have phone conversations for 4 hours after, in the beginning, saying, oh, I've just got one quick question. And then, hello, the sun is rising. The sun is rising from Te Tairawhiti, and Patu and I are still looking out the window and haven't even answered the original question. So before this turns into a 4-hour marathon for you all, e te whānau, koutou rā e wakarongo mai ana, koutou rā e mātakitaki mai ana I tēnei pāpā o mataora. I think for now, we might have to come back with a part 2, Patu, later on in the series. And we might do a little wrap up after lockdown, you know, after we're all out and into level 1 maybe. And we'll come back and we'll do a little bit of a where are they now? Sort of a catch up and bring you cool stories, because we want to hear those cool stories too, eh? So we've gone from reality of actually what our whānau out there are facing. And then another part of that reality are the people who are really just trying to get mahi done, just trying to get the work done. And they'll talk to anybody and they'll pull anyone in to make sure it gets done. Nā reira, ko mātou tēnei o te korimako o Taranaki o Koniahi Kōrero hoki, e mihi atu ki koutou e Patu. Koutou koto tira, te Pou Oranga o Whakatōhea. Ana, kei te mihi hoki ki koutou rā, e tiaki ana I te marea, me o koutou uri, kaore kore, mō etahi o a mātou uri o te maunga nei hoki, koinei ngā mihi mai oha ki koutou katoa. Any parting words for our audience out there, Patu?
Just stay safe. No, just stay safe. Stay safe, whānau. Your whakapapa demands it.
Tēnā koe. There you go, whānau. She left you with a gem. Your whakapapa demands it. Kia haumaru te noho, ana kia pai hoki te noho mo'o ao ki o koutou kāinga.